Everybody, I'm Noah from PhoneDog.com. This is the Samsung Epic 4G for Sprint. It's a cell phone. It's pretty awesome. It's not perfect, but it's pretty awesome. It's the best Android phone in the world if you like what it does. That sounds stupid, right? It's kind of true though. You know, I was going to say it's the best Android phone in the world because it really actually might be. But not everybody's going to want to touch a full keyboard. Not everybody's going to want, you know, Samsung's TouchWiz, you know, blah, 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 all those details. Not everybody's going to be on Sprint. You know, it gets all like, yeah. But really, honestly, it's one of the best Android phones in the world. At this current time, I would say it's the best Android phone in the world, possibly the best cell phone in the world, if you do a lot of messaging and you want the hard QWERTY board experience. Because touch typing is a lot better than it used to be, and probably eventually, you know, hard QWERTY boards will go the way of the dinosaur for most people on phones. I don't think on desktops, but on phones. And you get a phone like the Evo 4G or the Droid X or, you know, whatever, one of those big screen phones, you can type out pretty easily. But for some people, or for people like me who can't make up their minds over, you know, sometimes you just want the hard QWERTY board. And of all the Android phones I've tried so far, this is the best one. Because it has a really pretty, it has a very roomy and really pretty good QWERTY board. It has a huge, beautiful display, and it's pretty fast. This phone will be available on August 31st through Sprint. I'm going to do this every time I say something. It will cost you $250 on contract, which is a lot for a cell phone, but really the upfront price doesn't matter because A, most of the money you pay is over the 2 years through your monthly thing, right? You're paying $100 a month, you know, in 3 months, that's the cost of the phone. So B, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter, money matters, but you know what I'm saying. And B, a lot of times after these phones come out, you can find them for cheaper through a third-party retailer online, Amazon, Let's Talk, you know, one of those places, than you can through the carrier itself, although it remains to be seen, you know, with Epic because it's not out yet. So that being said, you know, it is $50 more than the comparable state-of-the-art smartphones on Sprint, the Evo, and on some of the other networks. It will require a data plan with the premium data surcharge. So instead of $70 a month for Sprint's data with 450 minutes, you're going to pay $80. Instead of $100 a month for the Simply Everything plan with unlimited minutes and data, you're going to pay $110. That's their premium data. Sprint hasn't, not that I've seen anyway, fully explained what all that means, but you know, it's just their charge they do right now. It only applies to the Evo 4G and the Epic 4G, which are 4G phones, but it doesn't guarantee you're going to get 4G speeds, which, you know, again, whatever, you have to pay it to get the phone. All that being said, though, still, when you compare the pricing to top-of-the-line smartphones on other carriers, you know, it's even unless you're looking at T-Mobile, which really is the value leader right now amongst the major U.S. carriers. And then also, I know you want me to shut up and get to the phone. You want it to be like, let's get to the phone. Here we go. The thing I was going to say also is that I don't know what. So here we go. Let's get to the phone. Thanks for Sprint for lending us to this one. It's the Epic 4G, and really, it's a pretty good phone. Let's check it out. Okay, so really at this point, we've done a lot of coverage on the different Galaxy S phones. So here's one of them, the T-Mobile Vibrant. And so Galaxy S, a worldwide brand for Samsung, you know, Galaxy phones all over the place. A Galaxy tablet, the Galaxy Tab, coming soon. I believe September 2nd at IFA in Germany. It's going to be launched officially. An Android-powered tablet device. But in the U.S., we've got the T-Mobile Vibrant, the AT&T Captivate already out, now the Epic 4G for Sprint, and the Fascinate supposedly coming, or not supposedly, is coming sometime soon, probably in October, maybe early November, probably October, to Verizon. But the Epic 4G is the only 4G model of the Galaxy S devices, and also the only one with a hard QWERTY board. So you've got the same, you know, if you look at the phones, pretty much the same footprint size. The Epic obviously is thicker because of the QWERTY board, but you get the same 4-inch Super AMOLED display, 800 by 480 resolution, 4-inch capacitive touch. We'll get the Vibrant out of there. You've got the 4G, you've got Android 2.1 with Samsung's TouchWiz UI, TouchWiz 3.0 on top of it. Samsung Sprint saying that oh, Jen is sowing the seeds of love, awesome. A fourth thing, you know what? I'm just going to throw this out here. This is not anything related because this guy does not work for Samsung or Sprint. But Joe, get well soon. My man Joe just had major surgery. He's doing fine, but he's got a, he knew it was not elective, without getting into his personal life. He knew it was he was in for, and now he's recovering. It's going to be a long road to recovery. But Joe, man, get well soon. Hang in there, all right? So there you go. If you know who Joe is, give him some love on Twitter or Facebook or Fantasy Football or, wherever you see him. Anyway, so TouchWiz 3.0, Android 2.1, Sprint and Samsung say the Android 2.2 update is coming soon. Haven't announced a date for that yet. But, otherwise, pretty much the same as the other Galaxy S phones. Again, except you got the 4G. You have the Sprint services, so you get Sprint Zone, Sprint TV, the NASCAR, the NFL Live, that kind of stuff. And then the big deal besides 4G is the QWERTY board. So I've been using this phone for a couple weeks now, and here's what I can tell you. It's bulky, but it's still fairly lightweight, especially for its size. It's got a 1 gigahertz Samsung Hummingbird application processor that really this phone, flies most of the time. A few bugs, had a few issues with the mobile hotspot service, dropping out here and there. And I had the phone hooked up to my computer to sideload some apps, and sideload some media files rather. And when I disconnected it, it crashed my computer, which does not happen with other phones and doing the same process. So a few bugs being worked out, but hopefully by the time this thing ships, they'll have those worked out, or very soon after. We're living in the age of beta, where products get shipped, perhaps before they should be. It's just the name of the game these days. But in general, this thing just performs really, really well. The screen is gorgeous. I still think the iPhone 4's Retina display is a nicer screen just because it's so high res and the quality and the responsiveness are top notch. But the Super AMOLED display is certainly, the next best thing. Arguably, it's better because it's physically larger, although I would go with iPhone. But whatever, this is not a comparison. On its own merits, the Super AMOLED display here is fantastic. I think I have the volume off there. This is Asphalt 5, which is a demo, comes pre-installed. We'll show you just the quality of the display and the animation and everything. The Super AMOLED display has a higher contrast ratio than Retina display, or according to Samsung, any other display on the market. So it's got that going for it for sure. But the performance is great. The graphics are beautiful, as you can see. You get that 3D effect and everything. We'll show you the game here. I'm not any good at this game, but we'll just kind of show you. Nitro, go! Nitro! Nitro! Woo! Nitro! How come I'm in Nitro, but I'm still losing? Because I'm not a good driver. Oh, brake! Oh, look out! Oh, I'm going to crash on purpose. I'm going to crash on purpose. Crash on purpose. No, I'm going to go backwards. Going backwards. Crash on purpose. Yeah, all right, whatever. But, the phone works well in basically all instances. The only real lag I've experienced that I've noticed regularly is when you go to add a shortcut, and when you hit applications, it takes it a minute here to scroll through, scroll through, index all the applications and everything. But that's every Android phone I've ever tried kind of has that on it. And, so I don't think that's really a Galaxy S thing per se. But if you go through the apps, if we fire up an app here, we'll, applications, and then we'll go into, let's see what's going on Facebook. Like us on Facebook, like us on Facebook, like us on Facebook. We'll go into Facebook. I'm not logged in here. That's fine. We'll go back. Don't like us on Facebook. No, you should still like us on Facebook. We'll go to the browser, and we'll load up, Mega. Oh, no, this doesn't have the Flash 10.1. Let's load up DroidDog. PhoneDog Media, as we like to call ourselves, to make us feel big and fancy. PhoneDog Media is an Android-specific site run by the esteemed John Walton. So we'll load this up here. This is on 3G, not 4G, because there's no 4G where I am, and not on Wi-Fi. The phone does have Wi-Fi, so it'll be a little bit slower. But the browser is great. The keyboard, it has a good click feel to it. It's a little bit plasticky and hollow like all the Samsung phones are, but arguably that's not a bad thing. You could say it's a bad thing it feels cheap. You could say it's great because it's so lightweight, which it is. So I will leave that up to you to decide. It's a 5-row keyboard. You've got, the keys are isolated, which is the style I like, meaning there's space in between the keys, kind of unlike something like the Droid and Droid 2, where the keys are all together. You've got a dedicated number row, which is cool. You've got the buttons, these capacitive touch buttons, which are a little bit wonky to use. The more capacitive touch button phones I use, the more that I like the phones that have real buttons like this Sony Ericsson here. But you've got the buttons replicated, the Android buttons replicated on the keyboard, which is kind of a nice little touch for power users. You don't have a D-pad, which you don't really need, but you do have the cursor keys there. Dedicated function key, which is cool. Dedicated emoticon key, which is kind of silly but kind of fun. You know, the keyboard's good. A little bit of that mush on some of the keys where it feels like they kind of double click, but you get a good, good feel, good click feel, very easy to get used to. And all in all, I like the keyboard. The performance is great here. The pinch and zoom and everything. You know, it's smooth. It renders really well. All in all, the hardware really pretty nice on this phone. It's got a front-facing VGA camera and then a rear 5-megapixel camera, autofocus, flash, 720p HD video capture. The still camera performance is good, good to very good, depending. The HD camcorder performance is very good. I would not buy this phone to, just for the camera, but I certainly wouldn't let the camera detract me from buying this phone, if that makes sense. The Sprint, it all depends where you are. My speeds using the phone, download speeds have been kind of in the just around 1 megabit per second download, which is a little bit slow. Sprint's 3G network tends to be solid, but especially lately, the more I test, the more I find that's a little bit slower in 3G than Verizon and T-Mobile here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Like I said, I'm not in 4G range using this phone, so I'm going to send it out to one of our other editors who is in 4G range so they can check it out. I use the phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot, like I said. I've used it a few times. Had a couple of issues. It's very, very easy to get going. They did a nice job. The app itself, very easy. You have to pay extra for the service, but the app itself, Sprint hotspot, that's all you do. You hit activate. It's not going to go now because the battery's low, and then it it starts out it's like a mobile router, and it gives you a little, the security key to type in from your laptop or your iPod Touch or whatever. So a handful of times I tried it. A couple of times I had issues with the signal sort of dropping out. May have been when the phone, went to sleep, the screen lock, not sure. But the other times I was able to use it, fine and for extended periods. Again, not the fastest service in the 1 megabit download range, but certainly, enough so that I could work from where I was and not have to worry about if there's an open Wi-Fi network or not. I tried to do some video streaming the last time I was on CNBC from the green room over the Epic, and it didn't work so well. Not fast enough or just not a solid enough connection. But there you go. Speaking of video streaming, you get the front-facing camera, so you can use whatever service you want. It's got Quick pre-installed. I do have a Quick account. I used it. It works fine. It'll be interesting to see as time goes forward and more front-facing camera devices come out, and especially if Apple does open up their FaceTime service. It'll be interesting to see, if people really take to using video chat in the U.S. or not. But it's there if you want it. Otherwise, it's the things that Android phones do, but fast, and the things that you can do with the Sprint phone, the Sprint TV, and all that stuff, And you've got a really good keyboard, and that's the story here. It's if you're on Sprint and you want the top of the line, right, these are your choices. The Evo, 4.3-inch screen, thinner, no keyboard, or the Galaxy S, 4-inch screen, a little thicker, full QWERTY board. Both have front-facing cameras, both do 4G, etc., etc., etc. Myself, I think right now, I would take the Epic 4G just because I think the keyboard brings this device into the land of like hardcore business users, because a lot of people, a lot of bleeding edge tech people or younger people who don't write, I don't want to say younger people, but people who just don't have to write full on, sentences and paragraphs in their emails. Touchscreen's fine. Certain people, and perhaps older people, still prefer the hard QWERTY board. I'm in a phase right now, I think because I've been using so many touchscreen phones the past year, that I'm digging the phones with good hard keyboards. And good hard keyboards. That sounds kind of funny. And this phone has one. So, overall, big thumbs up. A few bugs, like I said, here and there. A few bugs with the mobile hotspot, the USB tethering, a couple other bugs. I think Android really needs a better side-load media management system for when you sync your phone up. And also, this phone's running 2.1, not 2.2, so it's a little bit slower. When I ran the quadrant test, the benchmarking tests, it's a little bit slower than some of the phones running 2.2. But again, overall, works really well. $250 on contract, and you give some people sticker shock, but over the haul of, 2 years where you're paying $80 and up per month, you're spending $2,000, so an extra $50 up front, not that big of a deal. In the scheme of things, it's still a big deal. Money's money. But again, after the phone's out, you would think after a couple of weeks you'll see it cheaper than that through the third-party retailers. So overall, Epic 4G, big thumbs up. If you don't need the hard QWERTY board, then look at the other Galaxy S phones on the other carriers, or look at the Evo 4G on Sprint. If you want stock Android, this isn't it. It does have the Samsung TouchWiz, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Otherwise, there are other Android phone makers, Motorola and HTC come to mind immediately, Sony Ericsson as well, with other options. But all in all, the Epic 4G, a great phone. And again, I think this is the Android phone that hardcore business users may look at to say, wow, this thing could replace my BlackBerry, this thing could replace my, my old Windows mobile phone, because it's got all the features. It's got the mobile hotspot option. It's got 4G if you're in 4G territory. And it's got the hard QWERTY board. It's a good hard QWERTY board. So thumbs up, nice job, Samsung and Sprint. There you go. Much, much more on the Epic 4G. And we'll try to answer your questions before it comes out, because it's not going to be out for a little under a week yet still, and we have one. So we'll try to answer your questions as we can do it on PhoneDog.com, DroidDog.com, our Android site, our Facebook page. I'm on Twitter, YouTube, all the places you can find us. All those sites that rerun our stuff but spell my name wrong. Yeah, wherever you can find us, you can find us, right? Till next time, I'm Noah from PhoneDog.com. The phone's out of batteries, which means I should shut up. Thank you very much to Sprint for loaning us this one. And before we send it back, we'll do more coverage. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.